Jon, congratulations on being inducted into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much, Jerry. It's an honor.
Well, as you know, in wrestling, we don't get too many times to get honors like that.
That's for
it's
sure.
Very important.
Very
Jon,
excited.
how did you get involved in wrestling?
It's a tough question to ask me first, Jerry, because between first and eighth grades, I attended, I think, 4 different schools. Parents looking for opportunities to get me in a situation where I could deal with a learning disability. And it was tough. It's tough being a 5th grader and not being able to read. Led to some social issues and some behavioral issues until I found that padded room with a coach that cared about me as much as wrestling and taught me that that was the space, that padded room where I could work these things through and learn how to work hard at what I wasn't good at and learn. I used wrestling as my defense mechanism. I dove completely into it, wrestled all year round, and battled the learning disability through wrestling, and ultimately graduated college with honors.
Was that in New York City, or was it where you?
It was in New York City, a school called McBurney High
Sure.
School, which was owned by the YMCA.
Yeah. That must have been an unusual situation because there were so little things going on in New York at that time.
Well, most of the time, as a matter of fact, walking in here, I saw MacArthur High School across the street. Remembered that I played football on that field for McBurney High School, and we also wrestled there. So most of our matches were out on Long Island.
Yeah, because you didn't have too much competition then in the city that you have now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But it was a home for me, and wrestling's done everything for me.
What do you see as the most satisfying thing in your experience in wrestling? And perhaps you've already mentioned it, but
Yeah. Well, I think in wins, there's no better feeling, no matter who you're wrestling and what venue at what level. I always say that every wrestler has their moment, whether you're a JV wrestler stepping up to varsity and helping the team win that particular match, or you're winning a state or national or world championship.
Yeah.
It's the same feeling. And in losses, I don't think there's any situation where you learn more. And then as a coach, as I evolved into a coach, you learn to feel those same emotions with your kids.
what do you think is like the most important thing that you've done for wrestling, and how might you improve wrestling?
Well, I think the most important thing I've done for wrestling is at least they tell me, I've meant a lot to some young men in their careers, both on the mat, and then they've taken those things learned there off the mat. When we lost Olympics for a short time, or the threat of losing wrestling in the Olympics, we realized that we did need to change some things for the spectators and in the sport. And in thinking about that, I remember something that Coach Gable said, that the first period is won by the technician, the second period is won by the individuals in the best shape, and the third period is won by the one with the most heart. Whatever we do change, I hope we never change that, because that's the essence of what we do.
Well, what do you think you should change in wrestling? Maybe to make it more interesting to people. Do you have any ideas along those lines?
Action. We need to keep the action moving. I think the rule changes this year in freestyle are a good step in that direction.
Great, Jon.
The old rules, I think, hindered that.
Jon, congratulations on your induction into the Hall of Fame, and we know that you're going to continue to be important to wrestling.
I hope so. Thank you.